The following program on KQED is made possible by funds provided by Paul Masson Vineyards, the San Francisco Foundation, and the members of KQED. This is the new Louise Davies Symphony Hall in San Francisco, where for the next 2.5 hours, KQED will bring you all of the opening night festivities and music live. Now, let's go to KQED's John Roszak.
What you're looking at is the scene of excitement, the Gala inaugural opening concert at the new Louise Davies Symphony Hall here in the Civic Center in San Francisco. Just minutes ago, the crowd, indeed, they're still arriving. You're looking right now from the lobby of the new hall across to the City Hall in the Civic Center and all the gala preparations for the intermission buffet, pre-concert festivities, and the modes of arrival.
Right. As a matter of fact, coming in an old car or in this horse and buggy is probably the best way to get here tonight, because 3,000 people are here for the opening of the symphony. And frankly, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be a parking problem, because with the opening of the symphony, it means that San Francisco has the second largest performing arts center in the country, and that means that there just aren't enough parking places down here at Civic Center when all 5 theaters in the area, John, are actually operating.
Good evening and welcome. Oops, there's the chocolate model. We wanted to, you were going to say something about that.
Tell everybody that there it is. That is 600 pounds of chocolate. It was carved by a wood carver for Crown Chocolatier. They say they don't know really what they're going to do with it after the symphony. They're open for suggestions at their store on Geary Street.
There we are.
I tried to get a bite of it, but
no going
right now.
Good evening and welcome to this special pre-inaugural gala concert program live on Channel 9. I'm John Roszak.
And I'm Lynne Joyner, and the people behind us have paid anywhere from $250 to $1,000 to be here to start the symphony in its very own home in gala style tonight.
The very first own home of the San Francisco Symphony after nearly 50 years across the street in the old Opera House.
It started actually back in 1911, and they had to move from theater to theater. They found a temporary home over across the street. Now they have their own. Everybody is very excited about it, and we'd like to introduce you to some of the people who are here with us tonight at the opening. First of all, Mayor Feinstein. Come and don't trip on our course.
Good evening, Mayor Feinstein.
Good evening.
Nice of you to stop by.
Oh, I'm delighted.
This is even an evening more exciting than the traditional opera opening. What does it look like to you with all the people in the new Symphony Hall?
Oh, it's incredible. First of all, this is a very special building. It's not at all like the Opera House with its wide open hallways. It's a much more linear building and a much more modern artistic building. So I think the people stand out very much. I also think we're in for a great musical treat because the acoustics are so good.
There is a problem, though, Mayor, and that is with the parking situation in the Civic Center area. What are you going to do about the parking, Ms. Mayor?
Well, we've been doing. There's been a committee. Streets are blocked. There's special muni service. There's additional police. The fact is that you've got something going on tonight in every major public building in Civic Center Square. We knew there was going to be a problem, and there is.
Well,
maybe it's a way to get some new city revenue by building some more garages in the area.
Absolutely. We're trying to build a garage for the Performing Arts Center, and you can see it's very necessary.
Nobody seems to be complaining. They're all here and enjoying themselves.
Indeed they are. And it's a tribute, really, to the success of the new hall on the very first evening.
And it's a tribute to the fact that 6,000 people gave about $32 million to build this beautiful structure.
It's marvelous.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the concert.
Thank you.
Good night.
We have someone who is very responsible. Come on in here, Charlotte Maillard.
Thank you.
With your this is a walkie-talkie, a real-life walkie-talkie. Charlotte is here as a guest, but also as chairman of getting this gala together. And I understand you have 18,000 pounds of prawns on the buffets tonight.
At least. Along with a little beef and numerous other things, as you saw.
Smoked salmon, escargot. I saw them doing hibachi, Japanese teriyaki things.
That's right. We have a little of everything for everyone.
Stop, you're making me hungry.
There are 3,054 people here, and that's how many seats we have. If anyone's not in a seat, it's because they're ill, and we'd sell it again, or could if we knew.
John and I were down here yesterday, and they hadn't even finished laying the carpet. How did everything get done enough to open tonight?
Well, we were all little elves last night, all during the night.
Working hard all throughout the night.
We were. Well, it's a little different opening a building that's not finished in comparison to putting on a party in a hotel or whatever.
Well, you know, actually, though, we should say that although the Gala festivities are going on tonight, it's not the first concert. Saturday evening was the very first concert here at Louise M. Davies Hall, the new hall for the construction workers. We're going to tell you a little bit now about what took place last Saturday evening at the Hard Hat concert. Tonight marks the official opening of Davies Hall, but last Saturday's Hard Hat concert was actually the very first music played there. It was the idea of music director Edo Devart to include not only contributors who funded the construction, but the man who actually did the work. As the hall filled up, a brass quartet played a Scott Joplin rag and welcomed the workers and guests, while backstage, musicians like concertmaster Raymond Kobler prepared for the very first Davies Hall concert, excited at the prospect of playing for Saturday's very special audience. It's something special to play for the very people who actually physically built the building. They're the first to hear the music. What are your thoughts on that?
I think so. As in the movie Breaking Away, it's a shame that people can't participate in the buildings that they have built, and they're certainly the ones that should be the first to hear it.
In this case, they are participating.
Right, that's great.
Just before the first bars of the Star-Spangled Banner, which opened the Hard Hat concert, Maestro Edo Devart also congratulated the workers for their efforts in building Davies Hall. Saturday's program was the same one that will officially open the new hall tonight, with pianist Rudolf Serkin playing the Mendelssohn Piano Concerto No. 1. The pictures of all the famous people that played with the symphony in the Opera House during the 50 years it was heard here line the press room of the Opera House, which is where we are right now, waiting for the conclusion of the first part of this very special concert at the new Davies Hall, which is only for the construction workers who built it. Well, what was it like finally hearing the hall that you worked on at the very first concert?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
The acoustics then are great.
Unreal.
How does the orchestra sound?
Oh, hey, you know what? It took years to build this thing, but it only took one night to show it.
It took a long time, but we finally made it.
Are you a regular concert goer?
No, I'm not.
Is this enough to make you into one?
This is the first one, and I think I'll probably be coming back once in a while.
It was like something that you really put your heart and soul into, the whole job. All of a sudden, hear the first sound. It was astronomical.
It's really a tribute to the construction workers, too. What do they feel about it?
They feel the same way I do, I think.
The Hard Hat concert was a gift of thanks to the workers from the symphony. Another gift is the new Henry Moore sculpture in front of Davies Hall, donated by Mr. and Mrs. Earl Ruda of Hillsborough. Entitled Large Four-Piece Reclining Figure, the bronze, valued at $400,000, was unveiled yesterday as part of the building's dedication ceremonies. Well, tonight's concert is really a tribute to all the efforts of all the people who've worked on it, contributors and workers together. And the whole week has been, well, it's been a gala week from the Hard Hat concert to yesterday's unveiling of the Henry Moore sculpture to tonight. And tonight is really
we know you can hear
dynamite.
The noise and the French horns in the background, and some of the fashions that are around here, I should probably tell you, are astounding. The most unusual that I've seen, John, is a woman who was wearing a hat made out of Hawaiian fern and a little necklace made out of Hawaiian fern. She said that they confiscated the flowers that went with the fern.
Well,
also, there was one man who was wearing a zebra skin cummerbund, which may set a new style trend in San Francisco
That competes with the opera
year.
now. That is something else.
For sure.
Usually the opera is, of course, the most stylish event of the season.
I think it's a little dowdy in comparison to the new symphony.
That's saying
tonight.
a lot for the symphony, too, isn't it? We also have with us right now Peter Pastreich, who's the manager of the San Francisco Symphony. Peter, you're really busy tonight, aren't you? I'm glad you could stop by. This is it, isn't it?
Good to see you, yeah.
Good to see you.
Wonderful, exciting moment.
It really is. This is the culmination of all those years of efforts, and it's really just the beginning for the symphony. What's in store for us now?
Well, it's, the most important thing is the hall and the orchestra in the hall. I mean, to be able to play concerts in this environment, to sound the way we have now been hearing ourselves sound for the last 2 weeks, it's a new world for us. It helps that we're sold out, and that we're selling tickets more than we've ever sold. But the essential is that the orchestra sounds fabulous.
Well, you've kept us all out until this last moment. We're just dying to hear it. Your report sounds good.
Oh, wow.
Good. Peter, you
Very
mentioned
excited.
the most important thing, and that is the sound. And right now we'd like to share with our audience some of the innovations that have been made here at the hall to assure that the sound of music is very, very special. Spencer Michaels took a look earlier this week.
clapping, the trademark of an acoustician, the way Theodore Schultz gauges the reverberation time in Davies Symphony Hall. Schultz, a bassoonist himself and an engineer for Bolt, Baranek, and Newman, planned the sound of the new hall, and in so doing largely dictated the way the interior looks. The building's architecture is the work of Skidmore, Owings and Merrill and Pietro Belushi. Precast concrete designed to symbolically pick up on the spirit and feeling of the classical buildings in San Francisco's Civic Center, the Opera House, Veterans Building, and City Hall. The architects felt they must design a building for the 80s, and they wanted glass for transparency that would emphasize the richness of the interior. The exterior of Davies Hall, modeled here by the architects, is therefore a shell, important, yet not as important as what's inside, despite one famous architect's statement of a few years ago, quote, "We are going to make those concert halls so beautiful that people won't give a damn whether they can hear or not," unquote.
The acoustics has to be introduced at the very beginning, before any other ideas are involved, because there are basic shapes of hall to avoid, ones that you want to strive toward. There are certain concepts that might seem attractive to begin with, but that just won't work. So in this sense, we enter into the design scheme immediately when the concept begins.
There are those who claim acoustics are a matter of luck, a very inexact science. But Schultz disagrees. Sound is like light. Its reflection can be tested and predicted. The architects agree and designed the hall with acoustics the primary consideration.
There are areas of acoustics where it's totally predictable. There are other areas where the ear is the final arbiter, and you would never dream of going into a hall with everything in concrete and unadjustable, because the ear always will want to make some adjustments.
Among the tuning devices are long acoustical banners which are lowered from the ceiling and can change the reverberation time depending on what kind of music is being played. In addition, Schultz has installed disc-shaped plastic sound reflectors above the orchestra.
I would say perhaps the most crucial element in the acoustical design. They're intended to catch some of the sound from one side of the stage and carry it to the other side of the stage, or from front to back, so that the musicians can hear each other on the stage. And their other important function is to provide some early sound for people seated in the middle of the main floor, who otherwise would be too far away from the side walls to get early sound.
The shape of every structure in Davies Hall is designed to reflect and disperse sound. That goes for the balconies and the uneven sculpted ceiling.
Always in a hall, we want to have what I call bumpy elements on the boundaries of the hall, such that when sound hits that wall, it doesn't just bounce off as though a light from a mirror. The sound wants to be scattered in all directions. And after it's struck a couple of boundaries like this, then the sound's going everywhere, and the listener in the middle of the audience feels that he's immersed in the musical experience. It's coming from all around him.
Any concert-goer knows how distracting the roar of traffic outside the hall can be, especially during pianissimo passages. And just outside is well-traveled Van Ness Avenue. To deal with that threat, noise consultant Warren Blazer was brought in.
The building itself is a building within a building. The exterior to interior noise isolation has been achieved architecturally by building a very massive structure inside of the decorative structure that people see from the street.
So we won't hear the fire engines?
Fire engines, aircraft, what have you. I don't think there's a hall as quiet as this in the world.
You can't hear the air conditioning?
It's on now. Do you hear it?
I already think it sounds marvelous. Perhaps the important question is, what are the critics going to say? And that's not the same question at all.
Is that really the important question, though?
Well, no, I think it's not. If I'm happy with the sound, then I think we'll have done a good job.
How long before you'll know?
Oh, I think we already know. We've been playing, for 3 days here. It's marvelous and getting better.
Of course, the best way to find out what the acoustics in this hall are really like and if they work is to come and hear them for yourself.
Well, that look at the new Louise M. Davies Hall by Spencer Michaels occurred at a much quieter time, as you can tell by the emptiness of the hall. Tonight, it's full to the brim as everyone is arriving, all 3,400 patrons of the Symphony. But if you can't be here tonight, you can at least hear the concert. You can see it live beginning at 7 o'clock right here on Channel 9, and you can hear it in stereo on KQED FM at 88.5. And that reminds me that starting September 24th, KQED FM will be broadcasting the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra concerts live from the new Louise M. Davies Concert Hall, Symphony Hall, right here at the Civic Center in San Francisco. So look forward to that. Stay with us for the broadcast. And now Lynne Joyner is out in the crowd. Lynne, where are you?
Well, I'm over here trying to get through to some people, and this lovely lady is here for the first night. Her husband is ill, and so I think you want to say something to him to start with.
Yes. Please feel better soon. I miss you.
How do you like it? What do you think of the Symphony Hall?
I think the Symphony Hall is magnificent, just a generous gift to all of the San Francisco and the surrounding area, and something to be enjoyed over the years.
Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm going to walk this way. Hi.
Hi.
This man is not just a guest. He's in charge of all the ushers for the Symphony Hall.
Yes.
Horacio, what do you think of tonight?
I think it's the most exciting night that we had in a long, long time, and we will never forget. We've been working on this for such a long time with such an enthusiasm, assuming that the house could not be completed, and yet we were working tremendously.
Right, but there's no center aisle. This is called continental style.
Continental seating.
What happens if someone has to go to the bathroom in the middle of
No problems, because there's a lot of leg room, and people can walk with no problems at all. Even if one person coming to seat 1 or 2 in the center can get in with no problems at all.
Good. Let me ask somebody else how they like
Thank
it.
you.
Excuse me, what do you think of the Symphony Hall?
I think it's just beautiful. Fabulous building.
How about you?
No, I agree. I think
there we go.
It still needs a little work, but they say by November they'll have it
Do
down.
you still smell the paint, or does it bother you?
No, not at all.
All right.
No, it's very, very nice. Although I think that maybe the elevator to the loges, they might have built one into the other tiers up there.
All right,
something that is
we'll
indeed
work on
going.
that next year.
Well, something that someone's been working on for an entire year is David Del Tredici, whose world premiere is going to be heard tonight, Lynne. We talked to David Del Tredici earlier this week in our studio here at KQED, here in San Francisco at the station. And we're going to tell you a little bit now about the specially commissioned piece that will be seen and heard tonight at the Symphony. When Louise Davies commissioned tonight's new work from David Del Tredici, she had in mind a piece that was listenable. I wondered if this posed a problem for a modern composer.
Actually, John, it was a wonderful coincidence of intentions and realizations. I was at the time writing, or had begun to write, a very happy piece, and it appealed to me as ideal for the commission. And when Louise said particularly that she wanted it to be happy, a happy piece, I was delighted. I've been studying Alice in Wonderland for a long time, and it's full of whimsy, happiness, as you know. So in a way, I was really quite disposed towards that kind of a piece.
How long did it take you to write the present composition that is going to be premiered tonight?
Well, I really wrote it, I began it over, well, a year ago, but since February, I've been doing 6 to 8 hours a day, finishing it for the premiere.
The work is fugal in nature, and that ties in with the title, Happy Voices, because a fugue has voices that enter. How does that describe your piece?
Well, since I'm known most for my vocal work, this is the first piece I've written in many, many years which has no voice. So perversely, I called it Happy Voices. The voices, as you suggest, are the voices in a fugue. And a fugue is known for the gradual entrance of a few parts, then many, many more. And this is a real fugue in that sense. And there's a texture full of many counterpointing, involved lines.
David, what has been the response from the orchestra on hearing and rehearsing your new piece? And did you work closely with Maestro de Vaart when you composed it?
I've worked, yes, quite a bit with Maestro de Vaart, and I've been to many rehearsals. The nicest response, in a way, was from one of the players who, upon walking off from rehearsal, came up to me and said, "I'm so glad tonality came back." I was delighted with that.
David Del Tredici is a most engaging young man, a composer of the piece Happy Voices that'll be premiered tonight. And on the title page of the scores, among other names, that of Milton Salkin, head of the San Francisco Conservatory. Quite an honor to have it dedicated to you, Mr. Salkin.
Well, thank you, John. I've known David since he was 13, and we've been very close friends. I heard him play when he was 13, and I nudged my wife and said, "You watch that kid." And we've been watching ever since.
I would imagine that the opening of the new Symphony Hall gives fresh impetus to the Conservatory of Music here in San Francisco. What is it going to mean for your students?
Well, several of our students are in the symphony right now, and it's very inspiring to have them have that as a goal to come into the
I understand that there are actually seats behind the orchestra, sort of encompassing the orchestra. So
yes.
I would imagine if I were a student of music, to be able to watch from behind the
right.
scene, sort of, it would be terrific.
It's very exciting.
The new hall and the new sound of the symphony will no doubt add a special measure of impetus to the careers of a number of students.
Exactly.
It'll be a landmark to achieve to get here to play with the symphony
right.
for them.
Right.
I must say, we should note that this is live television, so if people walk in front of our camera, you will understand. And now it's time to remind you that one of the people who has really been instrumental in making the Symphony Hall a reality is a wonderful woman whose name is Louise Davies. She was born in Quincy, California, and she has brought this to you.
The sounds of music have always been a part of Louise Davies' life. Music was made in the home in childhood, and today fills her Green Street firehouse. I wondered if this early acquaintance was something special.
All families were that way when I grew up. You always had a piano. You always had somebody who could play it. Usually it was your mother, and so you all learned to play the piano, and you all learned to sing around the piano. You didn't have any other kind of entertainment, especially if you were not in a city, which we were. But I think the city of San Francisco, many people have told me that that was what happened here. You had to entertain yourself. There was nothing else to do. It was a different world. But it's a kind of a start where you know, you become interested in the arts.
You grow up with it.
Yeah, it's part of your life.
Do you feel that now with the building of the new hall, more people will be able to go to the symphony and the experience of symphonic music will be opened up to more people?
I think everybody will come. I think they'll soon find out that it's their hall. It belongs to the people of San Francisco. And more, I think people are going to the symphony. I sometimes go on Wednesday night, I think it's Wednesday, when all the young people go. And I'm amazed. It's more crowded than on Thursday or on any other time. The young people, this is amazing to me. The young people are musical. I mean, they come with great enthusiasm.
Did you work closely with Maestro Davart and David Del Tredici in the commissioning of the piece that's going to be opening up the new hall?
I decided, you know, about 2 years ago that there should be everybody has something that's composed for the opening of all new halls or new buildings or new something. So I, as you probably know, have commissioned David Del Tredici to do an opening piece, which is called Happy Voices. And I went to his office and we listened to the composition that he did for the St. Louis Symphony. That's where Peter comes from, you know. That's good. And it was really great. I really liked it very much. That's how I decided. Then I called him and told him to come out. I told him what I had in mind, more or less. I didn't know that you told a composer what to do, but at least you could give him an indication. I said, I don't want anything atonal. I wanted something that really had a theme. In other words, it's a celebration. It's not something that's going to be moody.
Rudolf Serkin, speaking of pianists, is going to be playing for the Hardhat concerts.
That's right. Isn't that great?
That's marvelous.
Mm-hmm. I'm so excited about that because these men that have worked on it, they've never built a symphony hall before, and they're all so enthusiastic. Did I tell you how it started?
No, please.
I think this is a lovely story. Ado, I don't know, it was the end of the symphony series, brought the brass over. The hall was not at all, they didn't have any seats or anything, but it was made of great loud noise, music, and said, come on, bring your lunch. So they all sat down in front in their hard hats. Mm-hmm. And then they played something. I wasn't there, unfortunately. I would love to have been. Something in the brasses. And he said, stop. I want you to know, Ada said, every one of you, the very first concert in this hall is for you. With that, they threw their hats up in the air. And they said, hooray. And then they said, oh, please don't put it in the papers because all our friends and neighbors will want to get in on the act.
How did you first get interested in the Symphony Fund Drive?
You know, my husband, Ralph Davies, left me all this money, and I didn't want to go into just this and that and the other thing. I have done that a little bit still, but mostly I wanted something that was large enough to be able to follow it through, and something that I thought that was very much needed. And it was Gwyn Follis that I think came at the time. And, you know, this Symphony Hall has been thought about for a very long time. I guess everybody knows that. For at least 15 years or more. It was turned down, you know, by the city. It was put on the vote and turned down. That's before your time, probably. Yes. It was a gamble when I have a young lawyer and a young banker, and they said, you know, it might not go. It might fall flat, you know. People sometimes rise to the occasion and become interested. And at the beginning, we didn't know it. They said, well, it's a big gamble. So we gambled.
I suppose it's a culmination of a lot of people's dreams.
That's right. It's a dream come true. That's what I said in the beginning of some time or other. It's a dream of the city and a dream of mine, a dream of all of us come true.
Hey, keep that elevator open. We want to get to our seats, Laura.
All right, you'll get to your seats in a second. The dream is becoming a reality tonight for Louise Davies and also for this gentleman. This is Wilbur Brayton, who is the new president of the San Francisco... Brayton Wilbur, I did it backwards.
Everybody does.
I'm sorry.
That's quite all right.
Anyway, you have worked very hard on this as the president of the Symphony.
Well, I'm the president-elect of the Symphony. I've worked on this for about 5 years and had a wonderful time. It's been a great privilege to work with people like Louise Davies and Sam Stewart.
Everybody's being called to their seats right now, but tell us quickly what's going to happen after the Symphony inside.
I'm not sure. That's being staged by Charlotte Meyer, and I don't know what it is, but it'll be wonderful.
There's going to be dancing. We know that.
Dancing for sure on stage.
And more festivities.
And more festivities, absolutely.
All right, well, let's get into the theater right now. We don't want to get you late for your seat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbur. Pleasure. Another reminder, Lynn, and to our viewers that tonight's program will be seen live over the entire PBS television network, and you can hear it live in stereo on KQED FM at 88.5. And beginning on September 24th, all the Symphony broadcasts will be heard live on our station right here in San Francisco.
Wednesday night performances on KQED FM, and I'm looking forward to that.
Very much so, especially with the new transmitter and the new clean signal that KQED FM puts out. It should be a great pleasure, and everybody from Monterey to Mendocino should be able to take part in the Symphony by listening to the live stereo broadcasts.
Right. I have a couple of tidbits that I thought I ought to mention tonight. 11 of the 16 subscription series of the Symphony this year are already sold out. They have a 26-week period here in San Francisco, and that's got to make everybody associated with the music very happy.
It's made the Symphony very happy, and 16 of those concerts will be conducted by music director Edo DeVart, 16 of the 26. And there's still a chance to get tickets. There was a big line yesterday during the unveiling of the Henry Moore sculpture when we took off on my bike, went back to the station. That was a lovely afternoon.
The other thing is for people who don't want to come here or can't come here, they're going to have a special series at the Galleria on Fridays in November for a whole month, I believe.
Called New and Unusual Music.
Right, and that's going to be a little cheaper in price for the music lovers who can't afford the hoity-toity prices here at the Symphony Hall.
And
although you can
formal.
get seats for $4. So that's not a bad bargain
Very
here
good.
at the Symphony Hall.
Well, as you can see, most of the people have heeded the call. You're hearing the chimes in the background, which is a lot nicer than that bell that used to ring at the Opera House and just about deafen you. Right. And they're moving in, getting ready for the opening measures of the very first work, which is going to be, of course, the Star-Spangled Banner.
We might also mention that the Symphony Hall not only will be the home of the Symphony, but also will be out for hire. You can rent the Symphony Hall. $1,500 for an evening if you have a convention or some kind of performance you want to give, and then you have to pay 10% of the box office sales if it's some kind of
Boy, you
performing.
Get these facts and figures
I tell you, I'm just
I'm
just full of trivia tonight, but it is exciting, and I might also say that anybody who is interested in this sort of thing, there are 7 bars here at the Symphony Hall, and right now they are emptying out because I don't think anybody wants to miss the chance to hear the first sounds in the Symphony Hall and find out exactly what they have bought with all that.
Lynn, it's been a pleasure, and let's enjoy the music now.
Let's go to our seats and listen.
This is John Roszak and
Lynne Joyner
from the Symphony Hall. Good evening.
Presentation of the preceding program on KQED was made possible by funds provided by Paul Masson Vineyards, the San Francisco Foundation, and the members of KQED. KQED, San Francisco.